In previous chapters, we discussed the behavior of the simplest type of structural members, namely a straight bar subjected to axial loads. Now we consider a slightly more complex type of behavior known as torsion. However, in this part of lecture, we will study about torsional deformations of a circular bar, with a brief discussion on shear strains at the outer surface, shear strains within the bar, and the circular tubes. In actual, torsion refers to the twisting of a straight bar when it is loaded by moments or torques that tends to produce rotation about the longitudinal axis of the bar. For instance, when you turn a screwdriver, your hand applies a torque T to the handle, as shown here in figure, and twists the shank of the screwdriver. Other examples of bar in torsion are drive shafts in automobiles, axles, propeller shafts, steering rods, and drill bits. However, for better understanding, an idealized case of torsional loading is pictured here, which shows a straight bar supported at one end and loaded by two pairs of equal and opposite forces. The first pair consists of the forces P1 acting near the midpoint of the bar, and the second pair consists of the forces P2 acting at the end. Each pair of forces forms a couple that tends to twist the bar about its longitudinal axis. As we know from statics, a moment of a couple is equal to the product of one of the forces and the perpendicular distance between the lines of action of the forces. Thus, the first couple has a moment that is represented with T1 is equal to force P1 and the distance D1. And in the same way, the second couple has a moment T2 is equal to P2 D2. The SI unit for moment is the Newton meter. The moment of a couple may be represented by a vector in the form of a double-headed arrow. The arrow is perpendicular to the plane containing the couple, and therefore in this case both arrows are perpendicular to the axis of the bar. The direction or sense of the moment is indicated by the right-hand rule for moment vectors. Namely, using your right hand, let your fingers curve in the direction of the moment and then your thumb will point out the direction of the vector. However, an alternative representation of the moment is a curved arrow acting in the direction of rotation. Both the curved arrow and vector representations are in common use. The choice depends upon convenience and personal preferences. So we can say that moments that produce twisting of a bar, such as the moments T1 and T2 here in figure, are called torques or twisting moments. And cylindrical members that are subjected to torques and transmit power through rotation are called shafts. For instance, the drive shaft of an automobile or the propeller shaft of a ship. After brief discussion on torsion, now we will discuss about torsional deformations of a circular bar. We begin our discussion of torsion by considering a prismatic bar of circular cross-section, twisted by torques T acting at the ends, as shown here in figure. Since every cross-section of the bar is identical and since every cross-section is subjected to the same internal torque T, we say that the bar is in pure torsion. From considerations of symmetry, it can be proved that cross-sections of the bar do not change in shape as they rotate about the longitudinal axis. In other words, all cross-sections remain plane and circular, and R radii remain straight. Furthermore, if the angle of rotation between one end of the bar and the other is small, neither the length of the bar nor its radius will change. However, to aid in visualizing the deformations of the bar, imagine that the left-hand end of the bar is fixed in position. Then under the action of the torque, the right-hand end will rotate with respect to the left-hand end through a small angle phi known as the angle of twist or angle of rotation. Because of this rotation, a straight longitudinal line PQ on the surface of the bar will become a helical curve PQ slash, where Q slash is the position of the point Q after the end cross section has rotated through the angle phi. The angle of twist changes along the axis of the bar, and at intermediate cross sections it will have a value of phi x, that is in between 0 at the left hand end and phi at the right hand end. If every cross section of the bar has the same radius and is subjected to the same torque or pure torsion, the angle phi x will vary linearly between the ends. Now we will discuss about shear strains at the outer surface. Now consider an element of the bar between two cross sections distance dx apart. This element is shown in large in figure here. On outer surface we identify a small element represented with A, B, C, D, with sides A, B and C, D that initially are parallel to the longitudinal axis. During twisting of the bar, the right hand cross section rotates with respect to the left hand cross section through a small angle of twist d phi, so that points B and C moves to B slash and C slash respectively. The lengths of the sides of the element, which is now element A, B slash, C slash and D, do not change during this small rotation. However, the angles at the corners of the element are no longer equal to 90 degree now. The element is therefore in a state of pure shear, which actually means that the element is subjected to shear strains but no normal strain. The magnitude of shear strain at the outer surface of the bar denoted gamma max and is equal to the decrease in the angle at point A, that is a decrease in angle BA and B slash. So we can express this equation as gamma max is equal to BB slash over AB, where gamma max is measured in radians and BB slash is the distance through which point B moves. In the same way, AB is the length of the element equal to dx, with r denoting the radius of the bar. We can express the distance BB slash as r d phi, where d phi also measured in radius. Thus the preceding equation becomes gamma max is equal to r d phi over dx. So this equation relates the shear strain at the outer surface of the bar to the angle of twist. However, the quantity d phi over dx is the rate of change of the angle of twist phi with respect to the distance x measured along the axis of the bar. We can express d phi over dx by the symbol theta and refer to it as the rate of twist or the angle of twist per unit length. With this notation, we can now write the equation for the shear strain at the outer surface of the bar as follows. Omega maximum is equal to r d phi over dx, and now we can express it as by replacing the d phi over dx with angle theta. The equation becomes r theta. In our previous discussion, for convenience, we discussed a bar in pure torsion. However, both equations are valid in more general cases of torsion, such as when the rate of twist theta is not constant but varies with the distance x along the axis of the bar. In the special case of pure torsion, the rate of twist is equal to the total angle of twist phi divided by the length L. Now we can express theta as phi over L. Therefore, for pure torsion only, we obtain the expression as omega maximum is equal to r theta, and now in this case theta replaced with phi over L, and this equation becomes r phi over L. So after discussing about shear strain at the outer surface, now we will study about shear strains within the bar. The shear strains within the interior of the bar can be found by the same method used to find the shear strain gamma maximum at the outer surface, because radii in the cross sections of a bar remain straight and undistorted during twisting. We see that the preceding discussion for an element A, B, C, D at the outer surface will also hold for a similar element situated on the surface of an interior cylinder of radius rho. This interior element also in pure shear with the corresponding shear strain given by the equation gamma is equal to rho theta, and this equation can now be represented as rho over r gamma maximum. The radius r replaced with radius of interior cylinder rho and the length L replaced with r. This equation shows that the shear strain in a circular bar vary linearly with the radial distance rho from the center, with the strain being 0 at the center and reaching a maximum value gamma maximum at the outer surface. Now we will discuss the shear strains in circular tubes. A review of the preceding discussions will show that the equations for the shear strains discussed in previous sections apply to circular tubes as well as to solid circular bars. Here is the figure shows the linear variation in shear strains between the maximum strain at the outer surface and the minimum strain at the interior surface. The equations for these strains are as follows. The maximum strain is equal to R2 phi over L. Here R2 represents the radii of the outer surface. In the same way, the minimum strain represented as R1 phi over L. R1 represents the radii of the interior surface. All the preceding equations for the strain in a circular bar are based upon geometric concepts and do not involve the material properties. Therefore, the equations are valid for any material, whether it behaves elastically or inelastically. In the same way, whether the material behave like a linearly or non-linearly. However, the equations are limited to bars having small angles of twist and small strains. Thank you for your attention.